Welcome back to another episode of Financial Capability, a series of podcasts that JA Malta are doing together with the support of Finance Malta and Credit Info. Today we're going to be talking about insurances, the role of insurance and what it's all about, its importance, and also some of the myths that we surround ourselves with. And with us today, we've got the Executive Director from Atlas Insurance, Mrs. Catherine Calleja. Thank you for being with us today. Can you tell us something about yourself, your experience in insurance?
Thank you, Petra, and good morning. I'm very pleased to be here this morning. I hope we do dispel some myths about our industry because I think it has a bit of a kind of stayed impression with many people. However, I have found the last 20 quite a bit more than 20 years to be full of innovation. There's a lot of change. The financial services industry is really growing, and I've been part of that change. I was among the small team who set up health insurance in our company, and we're now market leaders in the health business. And I've been also very much involved in change in the market. I've taken an active role in the Insurance Association. I also have an active role at the Malta Chamber. I'm on the Chamber Council, and I'm Vice President of the Insurance Association. And I have a special interest in education. Mm-hmm. I've been lecturing for quite a few years. Currently, I co-tutor a course for master's level students in insurance and risk management on health, life, and pensions, and I enjoy that very much also.
Mm-hmm. No, I think this is definitely a very interesting topic for myself, and I'm taking it from the perspective of not only financial capability, but also as a parent of two daughters who are now in their 20s. So trying to understand more from the younger generation how they are looking at insurance, at what we need to do as parents, because even from my side there is that lack of understanding. So I think this is going to be definitely a very interesting conversation that we can support a lot of people with. So a few questions just to warm ourselves up. So this or that. Logical decision making or gut instinct? What does
logical decision making in our industry based on data?
Life insurance or retirement savings?
I think both.
Both. You'd go for both?
Yes.
A steady 9-to-5 job, or would you prefer, although you've been over 20 years now, self-employment? If you had to look back, what do you think?
I think there are advantages in both, and the insurance industry offers opportunities in both, because we have hundreds and hundreds of self-employed people in our industry as insurance intermediaries, as risk, as claims assessors, and there's a lot of demand for both areas. But in the insurance industry, what's interesting as well is there's much more flexibility. So even if you're employed, the insurance industry has become quite diverse, and there's a lot of room for flexible working hours and flexibility in the industry in an employed state also.
Okay, all right. What do you personally prefer, financial news or financial podcasts?
I like podcasts now.
Is it something that you would listen to?
I suppose there's a room for both, but I'm a podcaster. I love podcasts. I listen to lots of different podcasts when I'm driving, before I sleep, I love them.
Yeah, when you're driving, I think it's the perfect time with the amount of traffic.
Yes.
Last one, working from home or going to the office? What's your preference?
I work from home once a week. I work from home on a Friday. and I enjoy it. But I have that flexibility if I need to work from home because something is happening at home. I can do
You can
that
do
too.
so. Okay.
But I like the social interaction at the office, and sometimes it's much better to say something to someone, to a human being, and you get a lot done with meetings on the stairs, or you go make a coffee and you see someone, you need to tell them something. So
No, it's true. It's true. So we started off talking. I mentioned myths. Okay, there are these myths about insurances, such as insurance companies. They're always trying to avoid claims, or life insurance, for example, is too expensive. It's a waste of money. They never actually pay you back. It's a con. And personally, sort of sometimes it feels as if people are taking these kind of decisions based on the myths that they hear, and it's not necessarily the right decision. What do you have to say about this? How can we turn this around, or are they true?
Well, I'm obviously not going to say they're true. I can say a few things. One, that we're highly regulated. And apart from the regulation, there's two aspects to insurance regulation. Okay, you have the prudential regulation, which means to make sure that we can pay the claims. So from the prudential side, they look at our solvency. Are we solvent? Can we pay the claims? So the MFSA is very concerned, and regulators internationally are very concerned with the financial strength of an insurer to make sure they can pay the claims. And then there's also a conduct authority within the MFSA, for example, and the conduct actually looks at the way we pay the claims. So they look at how many claims do we pay in full, how many claims do we shortfall, how fast we pay the claims. So this is all quite highly regulated. I can speak for the health insurance department, and our company pays between 7,000 and 8,000 claims a month.
Wow.
Okay, it's a lot of claims. The insurance industry takes payment of claims extremely seriously. It's very time consuming. So we look very carefully at trying to, if possible, reduce the back and forward in claims, okay, because that costs us money.
Yes.
Which brings us to the cost of people. We're a very highly paid industry. I think I saw some statistics last year. Financial services, insurance and financial services is the highest paid sector with the highest increase in salaries in Malta. Okay, so it's very costly to keep on, niggling on claims, because it's much better to have a one-stop. If we can reduce the number of referrals and going back and forward, that is one of our concerns.
You just touched on health insurance, and there are a variety of different types of insurance. But I'd like to ask you this question. Is it now very common for organizations, companies, as a benefit that health insurance is put in? Is it kind of is it seen as a standard? Because before it was more of a benefit.
Yes.
But now
in the last 10 to 15 years, many companies, for example, bought Clinic Plan, which is a sort of limited plan for their cover. There's been a steady migration to a kind of full refund in Malta type of plan. So there's been an upgrade, in the level of cover given. I would say it is de rigueur in the financial services industry, in the iGaming industry, IT. I don't think it's true to say that every employer gives health insurance. No. But it's becoming more prevalent in the fastest growing sectors in Malta, where they want to attract more staff and yes, I would say so.
So there's been this sort of looking at the benefits that companies are being given, and let's improve the plan, because now sort of the generations.
In fact, many companies are looking at offering dental insurance, which is coming in a lot.
Yes.
There's quite and obviously the growth area in the future. There's a lot of innovation in our industry. In fact, we launched the first dental policy now about a decade ago. Now a couple of companies offer it as an extension to health insurance, but we offer standalone corporate dental plans. The group life is another benefit which is offered, And now the area of interest, especially since the last budget, because now we know that government is going to be offering pensions to government employees. So now a lot of companies are looking at private pensions as an area of growth.
Yes. No, as you just said in the last budget. So finally there was that push on the importance of private pension plans and more to see how people are managing their money. And it's great that the government, has taken that plunge themselves. So hopefully,
and if I may say so, we were pleased to see that the government took, rather than imposing, the government set an example, I think,
yes.
which is very positive.
Yes. So, and I think it should be kicking off as of January this.
Well, I think by the time the kind of nuts and bolts are worked on, it'll probably be closer to, maybe the summer.
Okay. All right. So we're talking about different types of insurances. We spoke about health and we just touched on private pension insurance. When it comes to life insurance...
Well, I think that's another myth, Petra, if I may say, because people get life and health confused a bit.
Yes.
So we often have people coming into our offices asking for life when they mean health and vice versa. So health insurance is an insurance policy which indemnifies, which puts you in the same financial position after the incurring of medical expenses. So it pays for your medical expenses, okay? So health insurance pays for your medical expenses while you are alive. Life insurance, as the name implies, pays a lump sum when you die. Now, there are variants of life insurance because there are some investment products which have a life element, which are savings plans. So that's a different type of life policy. But banks require life insurance, not health insurance, because it protects them when they lend money to an individual or a company. Mm-hmm. I just want to mention something about insurance, maybe which I didn't mention before. Insurance is a very, very important enabler in an economy. Mm-hmm. In fact, a vibrant insurance market is a requisite for a developed economy. Mm-hmm. Okay, economies which are developing have insurance markets which are not as vibrant as they should be. So an insurance market enables individuals and companies to take risks. If you didn't have insurance, you'd have to save up to buy your own house and spend your money on rent until you could do that, because no bank will lend money to an individual and expose themselves to the risk of that individual dying. Okay. Similarly, if collateral is required for a loan, in other words, you're lending money to buy a house, you need to have the house as collateral. If the collateral burns down, that collateral has gone. So a bank requires insurance on the house itself if we're lending for the house. Mm-hmm. So I think these aspects of insurers allowing people to enjoy life and to make the best out of their financial future, because this is a financial capability podcast, okay? If you didn't have insurance, you wouldn't be able to take the step of opening your own business. You wouldn't be able to take the step of taking out a loan, okay? And you can concentrate on the business risk. Mm-hmm. We will cover the risk of the acts of God, which brings us to another myth. People think that acts of God are not covered. That is what we cover. We cover the unpredictable. Okay? And I think this is something which people I think it's an important point, okay? We are there to cover the unpredictable things that happen. Mm-hmm. You are there to take the business risk and to look after the normal risks that you have of in your life. For example, taking up a new job.
Yes.
Getting married.
Yes.
But,
yes. That's quite.
These are the risks that one wants, but we don't want to take the risk, of crashing your car, and you've put your money into your car.
But Catherine, all these, which are brilliant, they all come at a cost, and insurance, whatever type, is not cheap.
No.
So how, if you had to recommend, okay, so a person, a young adult, so in their mid-20s, maybe just out of university, or they're starting off their first job. They have the company that they are working with, or maybe they're doing a startup. They could have sort of basic health insurance. What else should they look at in terms of insurance? And how, if you're starting off, okay, so you've got a limited budget, how do you start planning? Should you sort of consider insurances later on in life, because we're going through different financial stages and maybe our priorities could be a bit different? Sort of what advice could you give?
Okay, I think the impression that insurance is expensive may be not as accurate as. Let me give you an example. So people normally buy their first car. In Malta, most young people buy their first car, right? And motor insurance for young people is relatively expensive because insurance is based on risk, okay, on data.
Yeah.
So we collect data for the cohort we're going to insure, and in motor insurance, young people are a bigger risk than older people. So somehow, I think people think that to insure my car costs 600 euros, 800 euros, or even more, depending on what car you have, obviously. And my car costs X thousand euros. Now my house, or the contents of my house, sure, that's going to be much more expensive. So that's not the case. So I think, first of all, it's important to do your research before you make a decision. I would like to dispel possibly myth number 4 or 5 that we've touched on, that insurance is there when you have more money. No, it's the opposite. Insurance is there to make you look after the little money you have. And if you are super rich, you probably don't need insurance because you can self-finance your catastrophe.
Yes, that's
so
a very
the
good
richer
point.
you are, the less you probably need insurance, and the less money you have, the more prudent you need to be, because insurance will allow you to free up your rainy day funds, in effect.
Yes.
Okay. So if you are buying a new house and you have to provide yourself for a flood or for a fire, you have to keep that 20,000-30,000 euros just in case. If you have insurance, you pay a few €100 a year, and you can either use that money for your startup, or you can use your money to go on a holiday.
In fact, I mean, a lot of people not forget about it, but don't consider. For example, a couple of just before Christmas, I was with a friend of mine, and she told me, I've got to buy a new television because unfortunately there was like a power surge or something in her area, and the TV was affected. I said, can't you use your home insurance to buy that? And she was sort of a bit baffled. She told me, no, I don't know. Maybe I can. Maybe I have no idea, but I'll check about it. I think the things like this sort of would fall depending on what type of.
I think there are different. Power surges are not covered by the standard insurance policy. However, there are policies, of course, that cover this sort of. I mean, electronic equipment is a particular area which people are investing in and need to have cover for.
Yes.
Okay, so these are. I think you need to invest a bit of time in asking questions when you buy your insurance policy, and I think home contents is something which a lot of people think of home insurance just for their bank loan, buy buildings only cover, and neglect to insure their contents, where the most common losses actually are from storm and flood. So it could be lightning damage, okay, but it could be it's flood damage. And a washing machine leaks, especially when you're on holiday.
Yes.
This sort of burst pipes. These are the most common claims, and they can be surprisingly expensive.
No, definitely, especially if you have carpets down. But
exactly.
these
another misconception is fire. I don't know why people think that in Malta we don't have fires. We've had some large fires. There are fires in the news every couple of months. There's a big fire in Malta, but there are also fires at homes. And fires cause a lot of damage, especially from smoke, also to electronic equipment. And they cost a lot of money to repaint and refit a lot of areas of the house following a fire.
I'm going to jump onto a couple of other questions because we've got also a young audience that asks these questions. When it comes to, everyone's into talking about AI and insurance. You mentioned, there are quite a number of insurance companies. Is it being introduced? Do you use it? Do the younger generation need to be more aware that let's not just look at the myths?
For sure, I think it's good that we realize just how big the insurance industry is in Malta. So I'm going to just push in a few statistics. Yes. So in Malta, there are 66 licensed insurance and reinsurance undertakings. That's actually insurance companies that take the risk themselves. Besides these 66 insurers and reinsurers, there are 826 insurance intermediaries. Okay, Malta has a very vibrant insurance market, and we definitely need talent to enter this market. And that's why the salaries are high, because salary inflation comes from increased demand. There's a lot of opportunity. A lot of these insurance companies are selling into Europe, okay? Countries outside the EU actively use Malta to passport into other European jurisdictions. So there's a lot of insurers that passport into various countries of Europe, so you get this international dimension. And definitely AI is on the rise, okay? Where there is a shortage of staff, okay? We are constantly looking at innovation. We use AI actively. We use Copilot, for example, as part of our Microsoft 365 suite. We use AI for summarizing meetings, for checking, for grammar, which isn't always up to scratch. We will be using it more in actual processing of claims. We imagine quite soon in the future.
So I have another question for you, because we also have some elite athletes that are part of JA, and they asked me, could you please check, should we as an elite athlete moving with the plan of joining the Olympics, world competitions, is it important or is it possible to ensure, that specific part of their body that is, most vital to the sport that they play? Is that something possible, or do you just take out health insurance?
So there are specialist markets like Lloyd's of London, which cover actors or actresses, for example, for specific, so yes, those kind of specialist policies do exist. We have to be careful, because most standard health insurance policies exclude professional sports people. So if you're earning a living from professional sport, that is a more specialized risk, because it's a much higher risk than someone like you or me who does sport, maybe goes to the gym a couple of times a week or plays recreational team sports. So there are specialist policies, yes, but you need to be aware.
You need to be aware.
Normal health policies, and the rate paid under a normal health policy does exclude professional sport.
Okay. We were also talking about the number of insurance companies that there are on the island for such a small island, and also moving into AI. So looking at it from the flip side, what is being done from a security perspective? There's a lot of fraud and hacking.
Yes, cyber risk is a big deal. I think the European Union is introducing a new piece of legislation called the DORA, talking about digital operational resilience. And this act is all about making sure that our systems are as impenetrable as possible. Nothing is 100% secure, and that's why insurers exist, okay? However, there has to be a minimum standard, and this regulation, this European-wide regulation, which is similar to a few years ago, we had the data protection new regulation, the GDPR, okay, General Data Protection Regulation. Now this is similar, where we have a digital version of that requiring a minimum level of security, and and most financial services operators in Malta are going to be subject to this regulation, which comes into force in mid-January of this year. Now, in the next few days.
So would you recommend that, whether if it's a startup or new businesses, that they actually consider or educate themselves on cybersecurity?
Not all these companies are going to be subject to DORA, okay, to this act, but all companies, especially if they are if IT is a central part of their business, are subject to cyber risks. And cyber risk is an emerging risk, and cyber insurance is an emerging product. And one of the things which I wanted to mention, which is important for when talking about the subject of insurance, apart from insurance freeing people to grow economically and maximize their own personal savings, wealth, or whatever, I think it's important to mention the education aspect of insurance, because an insurer will educate the policyholder in basic security, for example, if you buy home insurance or other classes of insurance. But an insurer will also help you get back on your feet after a loss. In cyber insurance, for example, insurers typically team up with cyber experts who will assist you at the time of a loss. So cyber experts will come in and help with first steps, what you should do to react to this accident that you've had.
Okay, all right. No, I think that's because somebody hacking your systems, your CRMs, and taking your data, using it, profiles, if you don't have that cyber insurance.
And even the process of filling in an application form for cyber insurance is a sort of check of your resistance in itself.
Yes.
Things like, training your staff regularly on phishing attacks, having what we do is we send out kind of fake attacks, and we give feedback to staff on how well we did. Okay. Who actually gave their password, we don't name names, obviously. But there's a lot of training and a lot of awareness as part of resilience for cybersecurity. And the educational aspect of insurers in this respect shouldn't be underestimated.
You're talking about, you've mentioned education, and that's something that JA is very much involved in. What do you think needs to be done, for kids in either from primary, secondary, to be able to start understanding more what insurance, the role of insurance actually is, and maybe like this we can bust out a few of these myths.
I think this is a very important point that you're mentioning, because we have grown so fast in Malta in this area. I cited the statistics earlier, I won't say them again, but as you can see, there are hundreds and hundreds of insurance operators of one kind or another in Malta. And our growth, the awareness of the potential of the industry, even as a career path, has not matched the growth in the industry. So we are now stepping up as an industry, as the Insurance Association. I'm an active member of the Council of the Insurance Association, and we are making great efforts now to invest more in education. We are reaching out regularly to career guidance individuals in schools, but we are also investing in an interesting project which hopefully we'll hear more about in future, to actually have a much more entertaining way of reaching schools. So this is something which is definitely on our agenda. Many of us in the industry also lecture at university in insurance and risk management area, so that's also enticing people to the industry. But what I want to say is that we have a lot of people who come to join our industry who have a first degree in something completely different. You know, people who have done psychology, people who have done physiotherapy, people who have done Italian or French, you know.
Okay. So
we have, you know, our doors are open for anyone who's curious about our industry, who's done a first degree in very different things. If you are interested in people, if you're interested in data, if you're interested in mathematics, you know, so we have such a diverse range of jobs, you know, that you should ask a bit more about what the industry can offer.
Catherine, I'd really like to thank you very much for taking your time to talk to us, to help us understand more about the role of insurance and its importance. And yes, definitely, let's continue, you know, working together to really bust out these myths.
Thank you so
very
much.
much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.